Okay, today for your warm-up, you had to graph. And remember yesterday we talked about the different function movements. So in this example number 1, we have to make sure that we know that this -1 under the square root tells us that it's a horizontal shift to the right 1, and this +3 tells me I'm going up, a vertical shift up 3. So from the parent function, which is right here and it goes up like that, so I start at 0, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go over 1. So I'm going to plot a point at 3, 1. Now, from there, remember yesterday we talked about, instead of using a t-table, we can kind of do our shortcut. Square root of 1 is 1, so I go over 1, up 1. And then I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. And then I do my last one, square root of 9 is 3. So from here, I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up 1, 2, 3. So I 9, up 1, 2, 3, and my point is right here. So I draw my line that connects all the dots. Now, moving on to number 2, where it says to solve. I'm not going to divide by 3 because I have a square root on both sides here. So what I need to do here is I need to square it to get rid of the square root. So I multiply both sides by 2. I have 7x plus 2 equals 3 squared is 9. Whoops. 9 times 3x minus 2, because the square root will cancel that out. So now I have 7x plus 2 equals 9 times 3 is 27x from my distribution. 9 times -2 is -18. I'm going to subtract 7x on both sides. So I have 2 equals 20x minus 18. I add 18. And I have 20 equals 20x. Well, when I divide by 20 on both sides, x equals 1. So I'm thinking that's my answer, but I have to check it to make sure. So when I check it, I'm going to fill in 1 for x, so 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to put 3 here. 3 equals, and then on this side I have 1 here. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 minus 1 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So that works out, and that's awesome. So we know x equals 1. Now, the next problem underneath, I do not have a square root on both sides. So if I had something out front here, I would divide by that number, but I don't. So I'm going to go straight into my problem. I'm going to multiply to the 4th power on both sides. So I have 10x plus 11 equals 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 81, minus 11 on both sides, and I get 10x equals 70. Divide by 10, and x equals 7. Then I go back to and check my answer. I'm going to fill in 7 here. 7 times 10 is 70. 70 plus 11 is radical 81. Whoops. So I have to the 4th root, 81 to the 4th root equals 3. Now, I would like to say, or the 4th root of 81 is 3. So 3 equals 3, and that also checks out. Okay, moving on to today's lesson, solving equations with radical exponents. We're going to start with, it's kind of opposite what we did yesterday. Yesterday we had it in square root form, and I'm actually going to put it back into the square root form. So I would rewrite this. I'd put my 3 here because that 3 goes in front of my square root, and the 1 is inside. So 5x plus 7 equals 3. Well, to get rid of it, I would take the whole thing and cube it. So I have 5x plus 7 equals 27. I subtract 7 on both sides. So 5x equals 20. Divide by 5, and x equals 4. I'm going to check my answer. 4 times 5 here is 20. 20 plus 7, so I have the cube root of 27 equals 3. Well, I know that 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, so 3 equals 3, and that checks out. Number 2, I'm going to take the square root of 2x plus 1 equals negative 5, because it's written the same way. I need to square it on both sides, so I have 2x plus 1 equals 25. I minus 1 on both sides, and I have 2x equals 24, so x is going to equal 12 when I divide both sides by 2. I check my answer by filling in my equation, so 12 here times 2 is 24, 24 plus 1 is 25. So in my check I have the square root of 25 equals negative 5. So 5, square root of 5 is 5. 5 does not equal negative 5. So this does not check out. Bad. Number 3. We have 2 equals the negative, or negative times the square root of 4x plus 8. I'm going to square both sides. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to back up here and erase that, make that a 2 here. I am going to actually divide both sides by a negative. So I have negative 2 equals 4x plus 8. Now I'm going to square both sides. Let's put that square root back here. Now I'm going to square both sides here to get rid of the square root. And I have 4 equals 4x plus 8. Try to move this up a little bit here. When I subtract 8 on both sides, I get negative 4 equals 4x. Divide by 4, and negative 1 equals x. So that's what I'm thinking my answer is, hopefully. Now I'm going to check my answer. And I have negative 1 times 4 is negative 4 plus 8 is 4. So I'm going to have a negative, on this side I have 2, and then I have 4, a negative times 4 in parentheses to the 1/2 power. Well, that's the same as 2 equals the negative square root of 4. So I have 2 equals, the square root of 4 is 2, but there's a negative out there yet, so 2 equals negative 2, which is no, it doesn't work. Okay, next one. I am actually going to start this one and divide both sides by 3 to get my numbers to be smaller. So I have x plus 6 to the 1/2 power equals 3. I'm going to change this into a square root problem, so x plus 6 equals 3. I square both sides. So x plus 6 equals 9, minus 6, and x equals 3. Okay, now I'm going to check my problem. I have 3, and I'm going to fill in this 3 here for the 6. Oops. So I have 6 plus 3, or 3 and for the x. So 3 plus 6 is 9. And 9 to the 1/2 power. I'm actually going to change that to 3 square root 9 equals 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3, and 3 times 3 is 9, so 9 equals 9. So that one does check. Okay. Good luck on your homework tonight.